Dealers love to make trikes sound like the perfect answer. More stability, more comfort, more confidence, and a machine that can turn long miles into easy miles. But if that pitch were enough, some of these three-wheelers would not be sitting under showroom lights, waiting for the right buyer. The real problem starts when riders look past the chrome, the fairing, and the sales talk. Then ask one simple question: is this really worth the money? Some trikes cost like small cars, weigh like touring rigs, and still force buyers to compromise on storage, resale value, road feel, or personality. Today, we are breaking down 7 trike motorcycles dealers are struggling to sell, why buyers keep walking away, and why number 1 exposes the biggest value problem in the entire trike market. Watch till the end, because the final trike proves that even the easy choice can become the hardest one to justify. Number 7. Can-Am Spyder F3S. Some three-wheelers look ready to start a fight, yet still leave buyers unsure. That is the bind around the F3S. It has a low stance, hard edges, and a sportier posture than most touring trikes. On a showroom floor, it catches eyes fast. The trouble starts when an older cruiser rider sits down and asks what kind of road life it really offers. For a man raised around big twins, long tanks, wide bars, and machines that shook like they had a temper, the F3S feels different. Not bad, just different enough to make pride hesitate. 3 wheels already require an honest conversation with yourself. Knees change, balance changes. Passengers notice. Confidence at low speed matters more than bragging rights. The F3S tries to make that move feel younger and sharper. That is smart on paper. In real life, the buyer still has to explain it to himself. He is not just buying stability, he is deciding whether his next machine still feels like him. Dealers feel that hesitation. Younger riders often look at the price and think about used muscle bikes, adventure bikes, or a clean cruiser with money left for tires. Older riders may like the safety, power, and easy controls, yet miss the old mechanical ritual. No clutch lever, no traditional motorcycle lean, no deep cruiser rhythm under the seat. That does not make the F3S weak. It makes it specific. It needs a rider who wants comfort without a rolling recliner, power without old-school thunder, and stability without looking finished. That buyer exists, but he is not standing in every dealership every Saturday. A stalled sale usually begins with one small silence. The rider likes the seat. He likes the stance. He listens to the pitch. Then he pictures his garage, his riding buddies, and the first question at the gas pump. If the answer sounds like he has to defend the choice, the emotion drains out of the deal on a real Saturday morning with trade-in papers folded in his vest pocket. The real problem is not performance. It is identity. A trike buyer over 50 is often trying to extend his riding years without surrendering the part of himself that still feels 25 on an empty 2-lane. If the machine protects balance but bruises pride, the paperwork gets harder. That is why the F3S can sit longer than its spec sheet suggests. It offers modern control, real speed, and a strong road presence. Still, it asks a traditional rider to cross a bridge he may not be ready to cross. A 26.6-inch seat height gives it that low, planted stance, while the braking package uses a foot-operated hydraulic 3-wheel brake with dual front discs, a rear disc, an integrated parking brake, and an anti-lock braking system. The machine weighs 899 pounds dry, starts at $22,299, and rides on AA arms with an anti-roll bar up front and a swing arm rear setup. The power story comes from 115 horsepower, 1,330 cubic centimeters, and 96 pound-feet of torque. Comfort can solve one objection, yet it can also raise a tougher price question. Number 6. Can-Am Spyder F3 Limited. Touring comfort can make a 3-wheeler easier to justify until the invoice starts talking back. That is the problem around the F3 Limited. It is not trying to look wild or stripped down. It wants to be the practical step forward, the one a rider considers when 2 wheels start feeling less forgiving and long days still matter. On paper, that sounds like a strong position. Add storage, passenger support, wind protection, and a calmer road manners package, and the machine should move easier. Real buyers are not that simple, especially men who have spent decades learning what comfort should feel like. The F3 Limited asks for a different kind of trust. It does not lean like a motorcycle. It does not rumble like an old touring twin. It does not carry the same garage memories as a Road King, an Ultra, or a long-kept Goldwing. Still, it offers something valuable. It gives aging riders a way to stay moving without wrestling a tall two-wheeler at every gas stop. That matters more than horsepower talk. Stability keeps a man riding when his hips, knees, or confidence start making private demands. The catch is price pressure. Once a three-wheeler climbs near serious touring money, buyers stop treating it like an experiment. They start comparing everything: passenger comfort, storage space, dealer support, warranty terms, resale value, insurance, the cost of the first real service. A younger buyer may see the price and drift toward cheaper speed. An older rider may see the comfort and still wonder whether the machine has enough soul to earn that spot in his garage. That hesitation is not weakness. It is experience doing its job. Dealers feel that experience during the quiet part of the sale. The rider sits on it. His passenger checks the back seat. The salesman talks features. Then, the buyer looks across the showroom and starts comparing machines that speak a more familiar language. That is where the F3 Limited gets pinned between two worlds. It is more comfortable than the sportier version, yet not always traditional enough for riders who want heritage. It is less intimidating than some big touring trikes, yet expensive enough to demand full confidence. A machine like this cannot win with comfort alone. It has to make a rider believe the next 5 years will feel easier, safer, and still proud. If any part of that promise feels uncertain, the deal slows down. That does not make the F3 Limited a bad machine. It makes it a careful buy. The right rider may love the ease, the storage, and the planted road feel. The wrong buyer will never get past the feeling that he traded old iron character for modern convenience. The touring hardware starts with a swing-arm rear and self-leveling air preload control, backed by double A-arms with an anti-roll bar up front. Price begins at $28,999. Dry weight is 988 pounds, and seat height stays low at 26.6 inches. Braking comes through a foot-operated hydraulic three-wheel brake with dual front discs, a rear disc, an integrated parking brake, and an anti-lock braking system. Underneath, 1,330 cubic centimeters delivers 115 horsepower and 96 pound-feet of torque. If this breakdown is helping you separate real trike value from showroom pressure, hit the like button, subscribe to Motorcycle Heads, and tell us which three-wheeler you trust most. Your experience could save another rider from a costly mistake today. Number 5. Can-Am Spyder RT Limited. Big comfort can hide a hard truth when the rider wants his machine to feel earned. That is where the RT Limited runs into trouble. It is built for distance, not bar hopping. It gives a passenger a proper seat, gives the rider storage, and gives the road a calmer shape. For aging riders, that promise matters. Nobody wants to park a lifetime of miles because a heavy bike gets harder at gas pumps. Still, comfort is not conviction. A man who spent years on touring twins, older wings, and American iron knows what road trust feels like. He wants a machine that will cross state lines without turning every stop into a wrestling match. He also wants the pride that comes from riding something with soul. The RT Limited solves the physical problem better than the emotional one. It is stable, smooth, and easy to live with, especially when a passenger is involved. The issue is what happens after the first impression. Once the buyer sees the price, he starts weighing comfort against every memory. That is not nostalgia for decoration. That is experience talking. Older riders know that long-haul comfort is seat shape, wind management, storage, heat control, service access, and confidence when weather turns ugly. They also know that a touring machine needs to feel trustworthy after the warranty clock starts ticking. Dealers can struggle with a machine that requires explanation. The RT Limited is polished, capable, and packed with touring purpose. Yet many buyers still compare it against used luxury tourers, factory trikes with familiar badges, and older machines they understand. That comparison can slow the sale before the test ride ends. A luxury three-wheeler must do more than remove fear. It has to protect identity. If a rider feels like he bought comfort but lost character, the deal leaves a sour taste. Men over 50 do not want to feel managed by technology. They want help that stays out of the way. For the right rider, the RT Limited can be a strong answer. It can keep a couple traveling together. It can make parking lots less stressful. It can take pressure off tired joints while leaving enough power for open road passing. For the wrong rider, it feels too polished, too quiet, and too far from the machines that shaped his taste. That split is why it can sit longer than expected. The machine does plenty right. The question is whether it does the right things for the man standing beside it. A dry weight of 1,021 pounds tells you this is built for touring, not parking lot play, while the seat sits at 29.7 inches, and the starting price lands at $31,999. Braking is handled by a foot-operated hydraulic three-wheel system with dual front discs, a rear disc, electronic brake distribution, and an anti-lock braking system. Power comes from 1,330 cubic centimeters, 115 horsepower, and 96 pound-feet of torque. The suspension setup uses double A-arms with an anti-roll bar up front and a swing arm rear with self-leveling air preload control. A familiar badge can carry history, yet it can also raise the cost of expectations. Number 4. Harley-Davidson Street Glide 3 Limited. The old myth says a premium trike should sell itself, but payments can humble any badge. The Street Glide 3 Limited carries the kind of presence riders notice before the salesman opens his mouth. Big fairing, full touring posture, passenger comfort, and a trunk built for real miles. It looks like the answer for a man who still wants to cross states, but no longer wants to fight a tall touring bike in a gravel motel lot. That is why this machine is interesting. It is not weak. It is not confused. It knows exactly what it wants to be. A long-haul three-wheeler for riders who want comfort without giving up road authority. The trouble starts with expectation. When a machine enters premium territory, every detail has to earn its keep. Heated seats matter, wind protection matters, storage matters, reverse matters, a smoother rear suspension matters. Still, the buyer is not just checking boxes. He is asking whether the machine respects his money. Older riders know that feeling. They have bought trucks, tools, trailers, and motorcycles long enough to smell a stretched deal. A pretty paint job does not hide a payment. A proud badge does not erase taxes, insurance, service, and the trade-in number sitting across the desk. That is where the Street Glide 3 Limited becomes harder to move. It gives riders plenty, yet asks them to believe the price makes sense. In a market full of used touring trikes, leftover machines, and riders watching their retirement money closer than ever, the emotional pull is strong. A man can sit on it and picture his passenger settled behind him. He can picture cold mornings with heated grips, highway pegs under his boots, and enough storage for a week away. That matters. Road time with your wife, your friends, or your own thoughts is worth real money. Still, there is a difference between value and desire. Desire makes a rider lean forward. Value makes him sign. If the numbers feel too heavy, even a beautiful touring trike turns into a conversation he delays for another month. Dealers know this silence. It happens after the walk-around, after the seat test, after the engine starts. The rider does not insult the machine. He respects it. He may even want it badly. Then he asks for the out-the-door figure, and the whole room changes. That is the weakness. Premium trikes do not fail because riders dislike comfort. They struggle when comfort becomes too expensive to feel like freedom. Heavy road authority shows in the 1,200. 50-pound wet weight, while the 27.3-inch seat height keeps the rider settled into the machine. The suspension setup uses a 1.9-inch dual bending valve front fork and hand-adjustable emulsion rear suspension. The price starts at $39,199, and the braking package includes cornering enhanced anti-lock braking system, electronic linked braking, dual floating front rotors, a fixed rear rotor, front 4-piston fixed calipers, and a rear integrated parking brake. The engine brings 1,923 cubic centimeters, 129 pound-feet of torque, and 105 horsepower. A tougher-looking touring trike can still lose buyers when its purpose feels less certain. Number 3. Harley-Davidson Road Glide 3. A sharp fairing can make a machine look certain, even when buyers are not. That is the hard lesson around the Road Glide 3. The myth says a premium trike with a famous nose, strong torque, and a factory badge should sell itself. Real riders know better. A machine can look right from across the showroom and still leave a man wondering where it fits. The Road Glide 3 has presence. It sits lower and tougher than the full-dress touring rigs. It carries that frame-mounted fairing attitude older riders recognize from miles of highway wind and truck stop coffee. It gives three-wheel stability without looking like a rolling lounge chair. That should be a strong formula. The problem is the middle lane. Some buyers want the biggest comfort package they can get. Others want the simplest factory trike at the lowest serious price. The Road Glide 3 lands between those instincts, and that makes the decision harder than the brochure admits. That gap matters when the buyer has already owned real touring iron. For a rider over 50, three wheels are rarely just about style. They are about keeping freedom alive after knees, balance, or passenger worries start whispering in the background. He wants confidence at stoplights. He wants less stress in parking lots. He wants torque for passing, and enough pride left when his buddies see it. The Road Glide 3 gives him plenty of that. Yet it also asks him to justify why this version, not the fuller touring machine or the simpler stripped option. That question can stall a sale. A buyer may admire the stance, respect the fairing, and still keep comparing. Dealers feel that comparison every day. The rider sits on it, checks the bars, pictures the garage, and starts doing honest math. Comfort matters. Storage matters. Passenger opinion matters. So does the out-the-door number, because pride does not make payments disappear. The tough part is that the Road Glide 3 is not a bad idea. It may be the right machine for a rider who wants edge without bulk. It may suit the man who still likes a harder look, but wants the security of 3 contact patches. That rider exists, but he needs conviction before he signs. Premium machines demand that kind of certainty. If a buyer has to talk himself into the role, the sale loses heat. The Road Glide 3 is strong, modern, and serious, but its greatest weakness is not the motor. It is the question sitting beside it. The braking system carries the serious equipment first. Cornering enhanced anti-lock braking system, electronic linked braking, dual floating front rotors, a fixed rear rotor, front 4-piston fixed calipers, and a rear integrated parking brake. Road Feel comes through a 1.9-inch dual bending valve front fork and hand-adjustable emulsion rear suspension, with wet weight at 1,184 pounds and seat height at 26.5 inches. Starting price is $35,399, while 1,923 cubic centimeters produces 105 horsepower and 129 pound-feet of torque. A respected long-haul king faces a different fight when reputation meets retirement math. Number 2, Harley Davidson. Tri-Glide Ultra. The safest-looking choice can become the hardest one to justify. The Tri-Glide Ultra carries the kind of respect that does not need a sales pitch. For many older riders, it is the picture of a factory, touring trike, big fairing, real luggage, passenger comfort, road trip purpose. It looks like the machine you buy when you refuse to give up long miles, even after your knees start arguing back. That is why its problem is not weakness. The myth says a premium trike with a trusted name should sell itself. Reality is tougher. Respect gets a rider through the dealership door, but price, weight, and ownership math decide whether he signs. A man over 50 does not shop like a kid chasing noise. He checks the seat. He checks the storage. He thinks about his passenger, his driveway, his hips, his garage floor, and the first tight fuel stop on a windy afternoon. He also knows the difference between wanting a machine and being trapped by a payment. The Tri-Glide Ultra offers the comfort story clearly. It has the trunk and tour pack for real travel. It has the upright confidence that helps when 2 wheels no longer feel friendly. It gives a rider a way to keep crossing state lines without pretending time has not changed the rules. Still, every strength adds weight, cost, or responsibility. A big touring trike feels planted on the highway, but more than 1,000 pounds still matters in parking lots. Reverse helps, yet it does not make the machine small. Luxury helps, yet it does not make the final number easier to swallow. Dealers feel that caution. Buyers respect the machine. Then compare used examples, leftover units, and simpler factory trikes. The name is so trusted that the used market becomes a rival. A clean, older one can look smarter than paying full freight for a new one. That puts the Tri-Glide Ultra in a strange place. It is famous enough to draw serious buyers, but expensive enough to make those buyers patient. Patient riders are dangerous in a showroom. They know inventory ages. They know value changes. They know pride should never outrun common sense. This is the kind of trike a rider may dream about for years, then walk away from in silence after seeing the final paperwork. Not because he stopped loving the road, but because he respects his money too much to let emotion do all the talking. That is the old lesson every careful buyer learns twice. When stakes are high, a starting price of $37,999 puts the buyer into serious touring territory with a wet weight of 1,237 pounds and a seat height of 27.1 inches. Power comes through an 1,868 cubic centimeters, 93 horsepower, and 120 pound-feet of torque. Comfort is handled by a dual bending valve front fork and hand-adjustable emulsion rear suspension. Stopping support comes from cornering enhanced anti-lock braking system, electronic linked braking, dual floating front rotors, a fixed rear rotor, front 4-piston fixed calipers, and a rear integrated parking brake. Before we reach the hardest names on this list, subscribe to Motorcycle Heads for straight trike truth, dealer warnings, and buyer lessons built for riders who value torque, comfort, heritage, and keeping their road years alive without regret longer. Number 1. Harley Davidson Freewheeler. The cheapest factory trike can still make a careful rider grip his wallet tighter. It looks simple, tough, and honest. No giant touring throne, no luxury wall of equipment, just a low-slung three-wheeler with attitude, reverse, torque, and enough old-school flavor to keep a man from feeling parked before his time. That should make it an easy sell. The myth says a premium trike should sell itself, especially when it wears the familiar badge and costs less than the bigger touring rigs. Real buyers know the truth is sharper. Cheaper does not mean cheap. It only means cheaper beside machines that already cost car money. For riders over 50, the Freewheeler hits a personal nerve. A man may not want the full dresser yet. He may not want armrests, a tall tour pack, or the feeling that every ride has become a retirement announcement. He still wants the road to see some backbone in his machine. That is why the Freewheeler has real appeal. It lets a rider admit he wants 3 wheels without giving up the stripped, muscular look he remembers from simpler motorcycles. It feels like a way to keep riding with pride, not apology. The problem is value. Once the buyer sits down with the numbers, the stripped-down personality starts working against it. Less wind protection, less storage, less passenger comfort, less long-haul equipment. The buyer starts asking why simple still costs so much after one honest weekend test ride. That question is poison in a showroom. A rider can love the look and still hesitate. He can respect the motor and still wonder whether spending more gets him a better touring life. He can want the lighter feel and still worry about resale when the market shifts again. Dealers cannot close that gap with charm alone. Older riders have heard every pitch. They know when a machine fits, and they know when the price needs to come down before pride and common sense can shake hands. The Freewheeler is not a failure. It is a mirror. It shows how hard the trike market has become when even the basic factory option must defend itself. Stability matters. Torque matters. The badge matters. Yet, none of it overrides the quiet math done at the kitchen table. A smart rider sees the opportunity, but he also sees the trap. Buy it right, and it can extend his riding years without stealing his identity. Buy it wrong, and he paid premium money for less machine than he needed. The low 26.2-inch seat height is part of the appeal, especially with a wet weight of 1,131 pounds and a starting price of $31,999. Braking backup includes cornering enhanced anti-lock braking system, electronic linked braking, dual floating front rotors, a fixed rear rotor, front 4-piston fixed calipers, and a rear integrated parking brake. The road is managed by a dual bending valve front fork and hand-adjustable emulsion rear suspension. The engine delivers 1,868 cubic centimeters, 90 horsepower, and 119 pound-feet of torque. At the end of the day, a trike should make riding feel freer, not heavier on your wallet or your pride. Some machines earn their price. Some need a serious discount, and some prove dealers are betting on emotion more than value. If this list helped you see the market clearer, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and comment down below which trike you would buy only if the price dropped.